Okay, friends, welcome to this week's installment of the Inner Dimension Shiur. This shiur is dedicated Le'ilu Nishmas Moshe Ahron and Yitzchak, whose yiarns is today. The neshama should have an aliyah. I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you to Yehuda for arranging this and for printing out all the sheets. And let's begin with Siyata Dishmai. So this week's parsha is Parshas Terumah, which, in stark contrast to last week's Parsha Mishpatim, which was all about the interpersonal relationship laws and the legalities of what it means to be in this world, all of a sudden we shift into Parshas Terumah, which is every single member of the Jewish nation is contributing something to the Mishkan, which is God's dwelling place in the world, something ethereal, something miraculous in a certain sense, something extremely, extremely spiritual. And it's a little bit of a jump, and it's a beautiful shift, because like we talked about last time, these two things are not contradictory. That's how a Jew is supposed to be. We have to have our head in the clouds and our feet very, very much on the ground, and that's what it means to be a Jew. So here we begin with the first piece from Degel Machaneh Ephraim, and it's on the first pasuk, Vayikchu, and the pasuk says the following: Vayikchu li Terumah, says God, take for me Terumah, and the pasuk continues, Me'ez Kol Bnei Yisrael, from each and every member of the Jewish nation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that every single member of the Jewish nation is supposed to contribute something to the Mishkan, some material, something that they're able to contribute. Rashi comments on the word li. What does it mean by yikchu li? Take for me. Of course, who else are we taking it for? We're building God a house in this world. Says Rashi, li lishmi. Take it for me means that it needs to be lishma. It needs to be with intent. It's not some robotic, obligatory checklist that a person needs to go ahead and check off. It needs to be lishmi. When a person is going ahead and giving something to God, it has to be lishma with that intent. Yesh lomar b'zeh, says the Degel Machaneh Ephraim.
Checklist yiddishkeit.
Right, the opposite of what that is, right? Lishmi. Yesh lomar b'zeh al derech mashal. So the Degel Machaneh Ephraim says that there's something much, much deeper, really, that touches the core of what it means to be a Jew and avodas Hashem. He says there's a parable be'inin ha'chasana, to a wedding. Ki kol inin ha'chasana. What are all the preparations for? The Kallah has her gown and the Chosson, everything that needs to be taken care of. All the different details and the band and the wedding hall, all the things that need to go into making a wedding is for the purpose of the marriage. It's for the purpose of the Chosson and Kallah coming into that holy unification under the Chuppah to be able to spend the rest of their lives together, to build a bayis neman. But he says ultimately there are many people shetofsim hatafel. They come to a wedding, and instead of being focused on the joy of the marriage, and instead of sitting by the chuppah and realizing that this is what they came for, instead they talk the whole chuppah, and they're on their phones and they're disrupting, and then by the dancing they stand in front of the band, they came to some sort of concert, and they forget why they came to the wedding in the first place. They're taking the tafel, they're taking that which is secondary, and they're forgetting about the simcha of the essential unity and the unification that's occurring here, the actual wedding itself. Right, they cast away that which is primary. The Gemara says, this whole world is comparable to a wedding, and this is a very, very deep thing. There are many elements to this. We could spend the next hour just talking on this piece. Maybe one day we'll go a little bit slower on these pieces, but for now we're trying to cover ground. But the whole entire world is comparable to a wedding, and again, in two ways. The first way is, like we just said, there's something primary in this world, and there's something that's secondary in this world. And the question is, what are we choosing to focus on? Are we focusing on the ikr? We only came to the world for a couple of years. It may seem like a very long time, particularly if you're very young. It seems like you're going to live forever, but the truth is that nobody lived forever in that way, right? Eliyahu Navi, but certainly not in this world. And so there has to be something primary that we're basing our lives around. The reason why we get up in the morning, that doesn't change from year to year or decade to decade. This is who we are. This is what I'm about. This is my mission in the world. And so in that way, this world is comparable to a wedding. There's an ikr, there's the primary thing, and the secondary thing, and it's up to us to choose what we're focusing to center our lives around. But there's something else that's far deeper, why this world is comparable to a wedding. And that is a very, very deep thing. Can't go into the depth of it now, but just on the surface. Hashem's help. The whole purpose of yiddishkeit on one level is that we're supposed to go ahead and daven, and we're supposed to learn, and we're supposed to keep the mitzvahs, and all of what that means, interpersonal relationships, ben adam l'chavero, ben adam la'atzmo, how to treat ourselves, and how to appreciate what we are, what it means to be a human being, a tzalma l'kim, and ultimately our relationship with the master of the world, ben adam l'makom, between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the deepest premise for all of this is that there's a wedding going on. Is that there is, in a certain very deep way, there's the feminine presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is dwelling within us. The chelek elokam imal, that indwelling Shekinah, which is a feminine lashon, Shekinah, that which is, thanks for coming, that which is shochein, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, so to speak, dwelling within all of us. And what we're trying to do with all of our avodas Hashem is to make the unification between the Chosson, which is that transcendent, distant, aloof element of godliness, which is beyond the world, to unify that with the indwelling presence of God, which is the Shekinah. In Kabbalistic terms, this is called liyached kudsha berichu ushchinte. To unify these two lovers, the whole shiur shiurim is a love song. It's between the Chosson, which is the master of the world, who's beyond this world, the infinite one, and that portion of godliness which we have within ourselves, that every time we do a mitzvah, and every time we utter a prayer, and every time we have emunah, and every time we do anything holy, what we're doing is we are allowing that indwelling presence of God to come out, to be emerged, to walk into the grand hall, and to walk down the aisle and stand under the chuppah with kudsha berichu, with that element of godliness that's above and beyond this world, essentially unifying this world and the next, essentially making this world a more spiritual place by unifying that element of godliness that's from a realm beyond, perfectly spiritual outside of this world, and showing and demonstrating how that transcendent godliness can become manifest in this world. We're unifying these two elements, kudsha berichu and shchinte, and that's what yiddishkeit is all about. It should be a romance. It should be a passionate thing. It should be full of fire and energy and love. That's what Judaism is supposed to be. Ultimately, we get bogged down sometimes in the details because we don't know how to view those details. We don't know how to understand that it's all love and that it's all founded on this unconditional relationship that we have with the Master of the world. It's the most beautiful and special thing. It's the most eternal thing, the truest thing. And so in that way also this world is comparable to a wedding, because that's our whole avoda, is to unify the Chosson and the Kallah, is to unify that transcendent element of God, kudsha berichu, with the Shekinah, with the indwelling presence, that feminine, ultimately element of God, which is the Jewish soul. And he says, everything that God created in the world, everything, both positive things and things that are neutral and things that are negative, are all for the purpose of enabling us to choose good from bad and evil, so that in all of our ways, b'chol drachecha da'ehu, says the pasuk, in all of your ways, da'ehu, which literally means know him. But we know that the word das doesn't only mean to know, but it also means to unify. Vayeda Adam as Chava ishto. The first time we see the word das in the Torah is where Adam and Chava get together, and that is called, in a euphemism, the word das, which means connection. So the pasuk could be read, b'chol drachecha, in all of your ways, da'ehu, unify him. Unify that transcendent element of godliness with the internal element that you have within. Manifest your soul. Make the world more spiritual. Bring that other world and that otherworldly energy down into this world. Everything in the world can be seen as enabling us to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, either by doing certain things or by holding back from certain things, but it's all a marriage, it's all a unification. But he says ultimately, just like the mashal, there are many people, they want to be in this world in the way of those that stand in front of the band the whole wedding and forget why they came here to the chuppah, forget about the marriage, forget about the joy and the unity that's happening here. They just want to eat, they want to drink, they want to run after pleasures their whole lives. And ultimately, they're letting go of that which is primary. And this goes for the mashal also. Those people who understand what a chuppah is, those people who are moved to tears by a chuppah, who wouldn't begin to think that they should talk to the person sitting next to them by the chuppah. Do you understand what's happening by a chuppah? All the grandparents from generations and generations are present in the room. All the future children and generations come down to walk with the Chosson Kallah down the chuppah, and you're standing there and talking. A person who has sensitivity, a person who's deep, a person who's plugged into the moment, a person who has that binas haleh, that's ultimately a feminine trait, but that person who's very, very sensitive to the gravity of the moment, wouldn't even think of doing such a thing. And it's the same thing in this world. The question is, how do we approach the world? That person who's wise, who has eyes in his head, it's a pasuk in Mishlei, a person who really knows how to look at this world, such a person is constantly seeing to it and busying himself for the purpose, that's his whole life. And that's something that's a goal when a person's in their 20s and when they're in their 30s. And ultimately, from the time that a person's bar mitzvah, if it's conscious to the time that they leave the world at 120, it is all one miksha achas, like it says by the menorah. It's bound together. What was your life about? What was your life about? It wasn't about this thing and that thing and all a million different things that I was busy with that I forgot about the next hour and the next day and the next week. It was all the yachid kudsha berichu shchinte. It was about the Chosson and the Kallah. It was about a passionate, romantic relationship with the Master of the world, with whom I'll spend eternity. And such a person doesn't have time to busy himself, again in an unhealthy way. Of course we have to be human beings, but such a person doesn't have time to waste being busy all the time with tanugi olam hazeh, with this worldly pleasures, he's at the chuppah. How should he be thinking about the sesame chicken of the shmor? It's something else. Okay, so he needs to eat, so I'll go and grab something. That's not what he's coming to the wedding for. He didn't need to dress up to eat sesame chicken, right? You came for the chuppah, you came for the chasana. Acher gavoy, right? Such a person throws all the pleasures of the world over his shoulder. He realizes this is not lasting. I'm not here forever. I need to focus on the tachlis, the tachlis. There's a big idea, and he says it's all hinted to in these 3 words. This is what he says. Because Rashi again had commented on the word li, which means for me, that it should be lishmi. Again, we translated it on a simple level, that it means we should have intent. We should take for HaKadosh Baruch Hu a portion with lishma, with intent. Says the Degel, we'll say it outside and then we'll read it inside, is that anytime we see the word shame, this concept of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name, it refers to the Shekinah. It refers to the Shekinah. How is a person expressed in the name, right? Now, when I refer to Yehuda as Yehuda, am I addressing the absolute core of his identity? Not really, right? That is nameless, right? That's been in previous Gilgulim with many different names, but I'm addressing the way that this neshama is manifest in this world is through the name. The name is the manifestation. The name is the way that we can refer to that thing, which is, it's not the essential thing. We don't know what to call that essential thing. But the name is the title. The name is the way that it's manifest. That's what the Shekinah is in this world. It's the godliness that we could perceive in a certain way, in beautiful actions, in beautiful moments, when we have a feeling. That's the Shekinah. That's God's name. That's the way that he manifests in this world. Says the Degel Machaneh Ephraim, Vayikchu li lishmi, puts Rashi together with the actual word. Says God, you know what I want you to take? Vayikach is the lashon of getting married, right? Like it says in Kiddushin. Vayikchu li, says God, I would like you to unify li, which is referring to the transcendent element of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lishmi. I want you to unify li, which is me, with shmi, with the Shekinah. I want you to unify these 2 beloveds, the Jewish soul and the master of the world. I want you to bring these 2 things together. Vayikchu li lishmi. Yichud kutsh brichu shchinte. Li is a reference to the Chosson, is a reference to Hashem, and shmi is a reference to Kallah Yisrael, to nishmas Yisrael, to the Shekinah that's dwelling within every single Jew. Says God, Vayikchu li lishmi. Bring these 2 things together. How do I do that? How do I go ahead and unify these 2 aspects? And the answer is the next word in the pasuk, Terumah. What is Terumah? Lashon hafrasha. Terumah means to set something aside. Vayikchu li Terumah is to go ahead and to take something that was part of the rest of your life. You have a bunch of different rings, you have a bunch of different earrings and things like this. Says God, take a little bit, take a separation, take a portion of that and bring it to me. Terumah means to separate. Says the master of the world, Vayikchu li lishmi. You want to unify me with your neshama? You want to all the time bring about this unification between the Chosson and the Kallah? In a divine sense, the answer is Terumah. V'hainu, what that means is shemafresh atzmo min hatafel. Make sure that you're separating yourself, right? Because Terumah means to separate. Separate yourself from that which is secondary. All the time, be focused and realize that this world is the wedding hall. This whole world is a behilula. Everything in this world, right, is for the purpose of bringing ourselves closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, building and fortifying that loving and unconditional relationship. Hainu el Shechina, right, or rather min hatafel, to separate ourselves from the secondary. V'asnifin, and all the things that are just, they're not essential. But all the time we should be focused on the ikar shuliyachid, like we said, is for the purpose of unifying the master of the world and the Shekinah and our souls, the indwelling presence of God. And this is like we said outside, Vayikchu li, says God, take me, that transcendent element of God, hainu osi lishmi, and bring that close to that indwelling capacity for godliness to be expressed in this world. Vayikchu li lishmi. Make sure that every action, if you're eating something, it should be with the intention of strengthening that bond that you have with the master of the world, because you're going to utilize the energy and you're going to do good things and you're going to be thinking good thoughts and you're going to be a sensitive feeling person, both ben adam l'chaveiro and ben adam la'atzmo, ben adam l'makom. So everything you ate all of a sudden becomes lifted up. A simple hamburger all of a sudden became the highest avodas Hashem, something else. You're taking a nap because you need to go ahead and you need to rest a little bit. So you could go to sleep because your body is telling you that you need to go to sleep. But you could do it with kavanah and say, Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm going to sleep now because I'm about to daven mincha, and I need to have energy, I need to have strength, and I should be able to daven properly. I should be able to live a life that's conscious of you. All of a sudden, your whole life, everything in the world, the behilula, the whole chasana becomes about the chuppah, not about the sesame chicken. And that's really what the Degel is saying. Vayikchu li lishmi. How? Terumah, by separating yourself from the tafel, from the secondary things, and always focusing on the ikra. And by the way, very important, this does not mean that you go go ahead and sit on the top of a mountain and meditate for 1,000 years. Doesn't mean that. You're still living in this world. You're still a person who has a family, and you're still a person who has relationships with other people, and you're still a person who has food and has drinks and enjoys a good time. But all of that can take on a different mashma'ut when you're focused on the yichuli l'shmi. All of a sudden, everything, you're truma, you're separating not from the world. God wants us to be in this world, but you're separating from the secondary element of the world, and you're lifting everything up to the highest place. To the highest place. Hainu ala Shekinah, shu shem shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is the name of God, like we explained. K'ma shekasav, v'chol makam asher azkir es shemi, brings a raya from a pasuk, a proof that shemi means the Shekinah, because in this pasuk the word shemi, my name, is brought, and the Targum, the translation of this word Shmi, is the Ashri Shechinasi. The translation of the word Shmi is Shekinah. Shekinah says, God, I would like you to unify me with your soul, and that should be your focus. The emes. And a person should always be focused, again, to make this unification between that transcendent element of God and our souls. And that's what Judaism is about. It's not about laws, and it's not about obligations and restrictions. It's a love affair. It's an absolute love affair. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's the Chuppah. Amazing thing. Okay, let's move forward. Degel Machaneh Ephraim, Avnei Shoham. The pasuk says, Avnei Shoham, Avnei Milu'im le'efod v'la'chosson. That Betzalel ultimately was overseeing the construction of the Mishkan, of the Bigdei Kehuna, and everything like that, was supposed to go ahead and to have two kinds of stones that were to be collected from the Jewish nation. One kind of stone was Avnei Shoham. We're called Shoham stones, not really a translation, it's just that's what they're called, Avnei Shoham, and those would go on the ephod. The ephod was that apron that the Kohen Gadol would wear, and they would have two stones on either shoulder. Very, very deep thing. There were two stones, and on each of the stones was inscribed 6 of the names of the Shvatim that he would carry on his shoulder. And then the Avnei Milu'im, which means the stones for the fillings, was for the ephod that the Kohen Gadol would wear on his chest, the breastplate. And on that chest had all the names of the Shvatim on their own separate stones. Those were called Avnei Milu'im le'ephod v'la'chosson. Again, the Avnei Shoham for the ephod and the Avnei Milu'im for the Chosson. What's the depth here? What's the Torah hinting to us? We know it's not just something that, like a history book or something that's brought from 1,000 years ago. It's saying something to you and I every single day. It's the Torah's Chayim, right? It's a living Torah. Says the Degel. Yesh lo amar b'zeh, we can give a remez al derech remez. Ki yesh shnei inyanim bebechinas limud. There's 2 ways of learning Torah. We here uses limud, but the truth is that it's for everything in Judaism. There's 2 ways of approaching yiddishkeit, whether it's studying Torah, whether it's tefillah, whether it's halachic observance, whatever it is. There's 2 approaches. Yesh limud, and again, it's an example. There's one kind of learning Torah, shalom and Torah, masker, osios Torah. A person who's reading psukim, a person is learning a Gemara, a person is learning a piece of Chassidus, which is what we're doing now. Kim Moshe Ahron. And he's taking from it just what it says on the page. He's engaged in the very simple act of bringing information off a page into his mind by virtue of reading, translating, understanding, asking questions, giving answers, and that's what he's doing. He's just engaged with learning what's called Kim Moshe Ahron, just on a simple level. Lahavin mashakasav bait, to understand what's written on the page. But then it's the same theme. There is a person who's learning or davening or doing mitzvahs, or whatever it is. A person is engaged on the level b'machshavas kedoshos, with kavana deliba, with intent of the heart, that it means something to him personally, that it's a personal engagement, that a person feels like it's a connection, that it's a bond. It's like we said, a love affair. B'machshavas kedoshos, with holy thoughts, v'taharis, and pure thoughts. The Isa B'Zohar Kadosh, what's the difference between these 2 engagements with Judaism? Says the Heilige Zohar Kadosh, Kishalom an kipshuta, when a person is learning on a simple level, just to read and understand, just to engage in that simple act of understanding, of educating himself. Azu Morid Shefa, the person is bringing down blessing into the world. A person is engaged in Judaism, even if it's not consciously, a person is still doing unbelievable things, like the Eitz HaChayim says very, very strongly. A person is fixing all the worlds, and a person is bringing blessing into his life, and through him, through the whole entire world. Still wonderful. But min basar kaspai, he's drawing down shefa, that blessing, but like it's ki'ilu, you come to a person to receive something from him, to receive money if you're collecting, and like he throws $1 over his shoulder. You have the $1, but it wasn't really about the $1. You were trying to go ahead and to receive from him in the way of panim al panim. Right? It's a whole different experience, as the Rambam. Sometimes if a person gives 1 penny, but he gives it with a smile, it could be a whole different way of tzedakah. Even if he gives you $1,000, but he throws it over his shoulder, right? Because the pauper in a certain way wants even more the relationship with the giver than he wants the actual money being given. So such a person who's engaged with Judaism on a simple level is learning, it's education, right? He's doing the mitzvahs because societally this is what an Orthodox Jew is supposed to do. he's bringing shefa to the world. Min basar kaspa. God will give you everything in the world, but he throws it over his shoulder. And ultimately, a person who doesn't care about that will be satisfied with that, which is most of Orthodox Judaism. We're okay with that. We don't think about relationship. We rattle off davening, we rattle off, and we do what we need to do, and we're getting shefa, but it's basar kaspa, and we couldn't give a darn. It's a disaster. It's a terrible thing, right? Of course, it's not everybody. It's a very small portion of Jews, right? But it's me, and sometimes it's you, I'm sure, right? Sometimes we don't care. But there's something much deeper. When a Jew goes ahead and engages with Judaism because it's a relationship, and it's because it's a passionate, romantic bond with the infinite one, not this three-letter word, God. Ridiculous. The infinite power that brings all of creation into existence every second, that is bringing us to tikkun shalim every moment. The world is getting better. The world is getting lifted up. Things are coming to tikkun. It's all the way at the very end. He's tying things together. When it's about machshavas kedoshos, when it's about holy thoughts, bekavana, azu morit shefa. So again, we're bringing that bracha the same way as the next guy, but mineged panav. But all of a sudden, it's a face-to-face relationship, and it's something else. Something else. On a simple level, it looks the same. It's the same $100. But the question is, are you looking down at the money, or are you looking up at the face of the giver? That's the question. How do we want our Judaism to look? Do we want it to be about the cash that we're getting? God is a, what's it called, a vending machine. You put in a quarter and you get it. That's not what it is. It's not what it is. It's not what it's supposed to be. It was never about that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants v'shachanti b'socham. He wants to dwell within us. He wants us to transform the world into a dir b'tachtonim, to make this world a habitable place for a godliness, and to embody that in our lives so that we impact others in a positive way. It's something else. Mashu acher. Mashu acher. It's not about the money. Also, we get money. Of course, we need bracha, we need parnas, and all of us should live long and happy and healthy lives. And everybody who needs a refuah shlem should have a refuah shlema. And everybody who's waiting for children should have children. Zerach chai b'kayama. All those things. We need that, of course, without question. But is it about the dollar, or it's about connecting with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, panim b'panim? Something else. And he says, this is what the verse is telling us. You have to have the eyes of a tzaddik to be able to see what he saw in this pasuk. How many times do we read this verse? Avnei Shoham, Avnei Milu'im, Le'ev of the Chosson. This is on a very simple level. It says the Degel, something so deep. Again, without getting into the depth, it's brought down in the Sefer Yetzirah. Again, don't even to say those words, have a half-hour introduction. Just Sefer Yetzirah in the book of creation, in the book of formation, Hu mechana hatevos b'shem avanim. The Sefer Yetzirah gives a mashal for letters, and he calls them stones. Okay, without getting into what he uses that for, he basically talks about the permutation of letters mathematically, that if you have, for example, 3 letters, how many words in combination could those 3 letters create? And then if you add another letter, it expands commensurately and exponentially, thank you. And if you add another letter, it's unbelievable, without getting into what he uses it for. But the mashal is, how many stones build how many houses? And again, the stones are references to letters, and the houses are references to words. But all we need is that sometimes letters can be called stones. Okay, what he uses it for, but that's what we need it for. That sometimes letters can be called stones. Once we know that letters and words can be called stones, so Avnei Shoham, the stones of Shoham, is a reference. This is a reference to someone who is speaking the letters, the stones, the letters of the Torah, which, like we said, is called stones in the Sefer Yetzirah. Shoham. You know what the word Shoham is? Hainu kimo shehem. You could also read the word Shoham as shehem. What do we say shehem? On a simple level. So they're avanim. It's the words of the Torah, but it's shehem. It's Avnei Shoham. It's Avnei Shoham. It's avanim shehem. Just on a simple, basic level, God is a vending machine. Kipshutai. And then yesh Avnei Milu'im. But then there's different kind of stones. It's the same stones, the same words, the same letters of the verse of the pasuk. But it's Avnei Milu'im, Hainu, Shu Maskra Tevis Bekavana Deliba. It's full words, pregnant words, full of energy, full of life, full of vibrancy and vitality and passion, full of youth, full of wonder, full of amazement. B'Shem Avanim. Umaskar Atevas Shemechuna B'Shem Avanim. Atevas Bekavana Deliba. Umamshech Hamanas Kadoshos, and he's having holy thoughts, vitaris, and pure ideas, and he feels that it's elevating him. It's not something that he learns and he gets up and he's the same person afterwards. No, it's so deep, and it affects him so deeply, and every word that he learns is so relevant to him or her in 2020, our emotional state, our societal reality. And that's why they're called stones, but they're full stones. The pasuk that we're learning is full full. It's not empty. It's not naked and bare. It's not just a framework of some educational material that we're understanding. It's full of life. Right? And in the parish and understanding, the deeper understanding of things, it's 7 letters in 2 words. No, it's 1,000 letters. It means 1,000 different things. It has so many different ramazim and sodos. Such a person would want to go ahead and explain what's in one pasuk, what one pasuk means to him, just one verse. If the whole Torah would have came to the world, just say, Bereshis bara Elokim. Do you know that there's a portion of the Zohar that's just on the word Bereshis, called Tikunei Zohar, right? Of all the different permutations of the word Bereshis, it could spell Barashis, and Baratayish, and Yari Boishes, and Yari Shabbos, 70 different, a whole book, Tikunei Zohar, on one word. It says Rabbi Nachman in Sichas Haran that if a person knew how, he could write a Tikunei Zohar on every word of the Torah. Don't just think that it's special first word. He could do a Tikunei Zohar on every single word. How much depth there is. So 2 words, the word S becomes 1,000 words because there's so much depth, there's so much meaning. And that's what Torah is supposed to be. It's mashu acher. Mashu acher. Again, a person who's engaged with Torah in such a way. Don't worry, we're not going to have time to do the rest. See, some people are flipping over the sheet. How long is he keeping us here? So we're just gonna finish with this piece, but I'll speak a little bit about Purim at the end just for a couple of minutes because it's related, and then we'll finish. Such a person is engaged with Avnei Milu'im, of stones that are full, of stones that have meaning. With kavana, with intent. It's a relationship. It's face to face. Okay, so he says, what's the shaykhus? What's the connection to the last 2 words, le'efod v'lachoshen? Very deep. These 2 ways of engaging with avanim, with the stones, with the letters of Torah, which is Avnei Shoham, Avnei Shoham, and then Avnei Milu'im, are connected to the ephod and the chosson. How? When a person just goes ahead to just so to speak fulfill his obligation with Judaism and just do the bare minimum just so that he doesn't have the Jewish guilt from his grandmother telling him, why didn't you shake lulav today? So he had to shake lulav just to get, so to speak, to become patur from it. Like we said, this person is drawing down bracha and energy into the world, but from where? Mibasar kaspai, from behind the shoulder. Says the Degel, that's the pshat, le'efod. Avnei Shoham is le'efod. Because what's the ephod? Is an apron. How do you put on an apron? You tie it around your back, around the shoulder, and you tie it in the back. Says the Degel Machaneh Ephraim, when a person is engaged with Torah in a way of Avnei Shoham, Avnei Shehem, so then it's le'efod. Then he's drawing down shefa from where? From the back. From that side, which is, so to speak, turn his back to him, where he doesn't have a face-to-face relationship with God. Right? It's all about the shoulder. You should put the stones on the shoulder straps of the ephod. But when a person is engaged with yiddishkeit and engaged with learning Torah and engaged with tefillah, he lives life in a way, like we talked in previous weeks, of yisra, of a seeker, of a searcher with energy and with passion. Then you have a relationship that's face-to-face, a relationship that never lets you go, that you're never alone, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is alone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is alone with a capital A. Echad yachad miyuchad. And when a person feels like he's alone, but he's conscious of understanding that his aloneness is matched with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's aloneness, so then you're always with him. You're always together. You could be alone together in a certain way with HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the time. So such a person is drawing down this energy face-to-face. And that's what the Chosson is. Shezeu b'chinas Chosson. Where does he wear the Chosson? On the front. Not the apron, which is in the back. But the Chosson is in the front. And so Avnei Milu'im, where does the Avnei Milu'im go? Where do letters that are bursting with energy, that are bursting with life, where do they go? On the Chosson. The Chosson is in the front. Because that's a relationship, panim b'panim. That's a personal bond and a connection that we work on and that we sacrifice for and that we care about. Like the first piece, that's the ikra, that's the primary thing in our life. To build a relationship with Hashem, not to just fulfill our obligation to be patur from Judaism and just try to find every kula that we possibly can. It's not about that. And the Haredim, people think, the Haredim, the Hasidim, it's not that they're trying to go ahead and make their lives more miserable by keeping every restriction. They see it as being another method of getting close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is there another chumrah that I could keep? Is there another halacha that I didn't know about that I can? Because it's not about the framework and the obligation of going ahead and just doing what I need to do. It's about a relationship. It's about a relationship. Again, the Chosson goes on the front, on the heart. And such a person's heart is thinking all the time holy thoughts in his limud. And so with 1 more minute left, Hashem's help. I'm having trouble with my throat lately. I wonder why. I wanna just go. I scream a lot. I spend the whole week screaming, and it's all at myself. And to everybody else is just overhearing. I'm talking to myself because I need this stuff more than anyone. Mamish. I just want to spend the last 2 minutes talking about Purim because this really, really connects to these two things. The pasuk says about Amalek that Amalek is asher karcha baderech, that Amalek happens upon us on the way. But Rashi says that the word kar could mean karcha, like something happens, makara, right, what happened. But kar could also mean to cool down. Kar, mikarer is a fridge, right? Something that's cooling, something that's dimming. Amalek's whole thing, we don't have time to get into the depth of it now. Yitzchak, I have an article coming out next week all on this, a very lengthy article, which I'll post and hopefully we'll send around. Amalek's whole thing is to come to a Jew and to say, keep every mitzvah in the Torah, but do it with kerirus, do it with coolness, do it without passion, do it without energy. Do it so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should just give you bracha and that you should be okay with him. You'll get Gan Eden in the next world. Who cares about Gan Eden? It's about this world. It's about a relationship. Schar. What is God, a vending machine? Amalek comes to you and says, keep everything. Be medakdik, but just with kerirus, with coolness. Not yiddishkeit. Come to the wedding. You realize this world is a wedding, and then stand in line the whole time so that you could look at the drummer, see the way that he's drumming, and forget about the Chosson and the Kallah who are dancing because they're about to build a whole eternity together. Forget about that. That's what Amalek says. Come to the wedding, but stand by the band. Obsess yourself with the sesame chicken by the shmork. Forget about the chuppah. Talk the whole way through the chuppah, but make sure that you're dancing really, so everybody should look at you and see that you know how to break dance. All these little things, all these small little things. That's Amalek. Be at the wedding of Judaism, but be completely disengaged with the ikra. That's what Amalek wants. Amalek is connected, obviously, with Haman, who embodies Amalek, right? Because what's Haman? Haman is Ben Agag all the way back to Amalek. Haman is the embodiment of Amalek, and that's why we read Parshas Zachar, right? By Purim, we learn the parsha of on Purim that we learn is the parsha of Amalek. Where's the source for Haman? Says the Gemara in Chulin. Where's Haman min Torah minayin? Where's the source for Haman in the Torah? Who knows? The pasuk, Hamin ha'etz, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Chava and says, did you eat from the tree? Hamin ha'etz. The word Hamin is the word Haman. And that's where Haman's root is in the Torah, not Stam, where we find 3 letters that happen to also spell Haman. Deep. That means that Haman Amalek is connected to the Eitz Hadas Tovara. Haman says, keep yiddishkeit, but let it all be about what you did good and what you did not so good, and to go ahead and to fret and to worry all the time and be and to be weighed down of all your guilt that you didn't do the right thing, and that therefore your relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not so strong, and therefore everything else in yiddishkeit, because once you did want to have the relationship, and then you looked in a certain place that you shouldn't have looked, and you had a relationship that you shouldn't have had, and you went to a place that you shouldn't have went, and therefore after that you'll keep yiddishkeit because you're a societal Jew, and that's what's expected of you, but everything is with yush, and everything is with despair. The Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. Purim is all about the Eitz HaChayim. It's another tree in yiddishkeit. It's the Eitz HaChayim. That tree of life is the tree of the yichud kutshabrichu shchinte. Is the tree of an unconditional relationship. Is the tree of shiur. These 2 trees ultimately show up, and we don't have time to go into it now. These 2 trees show up in the Har Habayis and Har Sinai. Har Sinai and Har Habayis. Har Sinai is Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. That's where all the laws are given. That's the legal aspect of Judaism. But the Har Habayis is the relationship. The Har Habayis is unconditional. Har Sinai is connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe, our teacher. A relationship with a teacher is conditional. If you're a good student, he'll be your teacher. If not, you get thrown out of class. It's conditional. Har Habayis is about the avodas HaKadoshim. Har Habayis is what Avram brought Yitzchak up to the Akedah on Har Habayis. That Yaakov Avinu has his dream on Har Habayis. That Yitzchak goes out to daven for a shidduch on Har Habayis. The avos and the relationship with the Father is unconditional, and that's the Eitz HaChayim. So Amalek comes and says, make yiddishkeit all about the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, but forget that it's a relationship. Forget that you're connected. Forget that you're at a chuppah. And Purim comes to tell each and every Jew, Ein Shem Yush Ba'olam Klal, that there's no despair. That there's a place where your relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu can never possibly be broken, where He's begging us all the time, come to me. I want to hold you in my arms. I want to comfort you. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. After the destruction, after all the pain, after all the brokenness, after 2,000 years exile, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings us back to our land. And He tells us, I want to hold you in my arms. I want to have a relationship with you. I want it to be Eitz HaChayim. I want your yiddishkeit to be full of life and vibrancy and vitality. Something else. Not the kerirus of Amalek. And with this we'll finish. The Gemara says, based on the pasuk in the Megillah, Lasos Chosson ish ve'ish. That Achashverosh wanted that the party should be Kirtzon Ish V'ish. Everybody was able to have whatever pleasure they wanted. Kirtzon Ish V'ish, every person in accordance with his desire. That's the simple meaning. Says the unbelievable Gemara, Lasos Kirtzon Ish V'ish, whatever this means, just on a deep, rather on a simple level, just to translate, says the Gemara, Lasos Kirtzon Ish, to do that which is in accordance with Ish, is a reference to Mordechai. Because Mordechai is called Ish Yehudi. So therefore, Lasos Kirtzon Ish is talking about Mordechai. V'ish is referring to Haman, because Haman is called Ish Tsar V'oyev. Both are called Ish. Both are called men, right? In the Torah, in the Megillah. Mordechai is Mordechai HaYehudi, is Ish Yehudi. That's how he's introduced. And Haman is called ultimately Ish Tsar V'oyev. Last is Kirtzon Ish V'ish, and with this we'll finish. Rav Avram Tzvi Kluger Shlita from Ramat Beit Shemesh says in his Sefer Vayoshet HaMelech that the word of V'ish, which again the Gemara tells us V'ish ze Haman, has the osios, the letters Yush, despair. V'ish is Yush. Haman is all about despair. Haman is all about serving God in a way of despair. Haman is all about serving God in a way of Eitz Hadas Tova Ra, where if you make the wrong mistake, you're cut off, you have no relationship. It's not a passionate relationship anymore and connection. And that's the Yush of Haman. Haman is called V'ish, is Yush, is despair. Eitz Hadas Tova Ra, forget that it's a relationship. Ish, which is Mordechai, is Rashi Tevot, Ein Shum Yush. There's no despair. V'ish is the osios, has the letters Yush, which is Haman. And Mordechai HaYehudi stands by the gates of the party where they're sitting and being disconnected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forgetting about the Iker, literally munching on the shmorg, literally. And Mordechai is screaming to them, don't forget about the Eitz HaChayim. Don't forget that yiddishkeit is a relationship. Don't forget that there's something so deep about the Torah that it's not just Avnei Shoham Shehem, but it's Avnei Milu'im. That yiddishkeit is supposed to be filled with life and energy. It's supposed to be something that gives you comfort. It's supposed to be something beautiful and something that gives us stability, something that ultimately connects us to a world beyond, a Chosson and a Kallah, a Chuppah. That's Mordechai HaTzadik. It's called Ish, Ein Shum Yush. And Haman is all about Yush. So we should be Zochem, Yitzchak Hashem, in the days leading up to Purim, to connect ourselves through Terumah. What a beautiful parsha, to think, what can we give God? Li lishmi, just on a simple level, it should be lishma. What can we bring to the table? Each and every Jew needs to contribute something to build the Shekinah. Without one Jew, if one person is missing, the Mishkan is incomplete. We need every single Jew to think about, what can I bring to the table? What can I offer God? What can I offer the Jewish nation? And let it be always li lishmi, truma, to separate ourselves, truma, to separate from the tuffle, from the secondary things in life. And we should focus all the time on vayikhu li lishmi, to be miyachid kucharichu shchinte, to connect to the Eitz HaChayim, that our stones of yiddishkeit should be Avnei Milu'im, filled with life and energy. Hashem. Thank you so much for coming.